In this video, we will be exploring what the MUTOs are and their purpose in the Titan ecosystem. So let's discuss this strange and unique kaiju. The acronym MUTO, Massive Unidentified Terrestrial Organism, was originally a term used for all Titans that had yet to be identified. Once identified, the creature would then be classified as a Titan. In the 2012 draft for the 2014 Godzilla film, the T in MUTO stood for target. Now the term MUTO seems to have changed meaning. The term is now mainly used as a name that categorizes the creatures introduced in the Godzilla 2014 film. The two MUTOs in the 2014 film had individual names. The male was named Hawk Muto, and the female was named Fem Muto. The MUTOs are parasitic creatures that thrived in prehistoric times by attacking radioactive hosts and placing their eggs in their corpses. Members of the Titanus Godzilla species were prime candidates for egg incubation, as two mutospores in the 2014 film were found incubating in the corpse of a member of Godzilla's species. Although the MUTOs are parasitic species of Titan, their reproduction doesn't always require a host, just a source of radiation their young can feed off of. There are four main forms that MUTOs can take, the first being its larval stage, while the next depends on the gender. If it's a male, it will take a winged form. If it is a female, it will take a larger 8-legged form without wings. Now the fourth form is the most dangerous and possibly the most interesting. The fourth form is known as Muto Prime by Monarch. The MUTOs seen in the Godzilla 2014 film are a subspecies of Muto Prime. From the records of the Phoenicians, there was another member of Godzilla's species that was a protector to early humans. He was known as Dagon, or as Raijin by the Japanese. The Phoenicians worshipped Dagon as a god and revered Jinshi Mushi, the Muto Prime that was the mother of the MUTOs seen in 2014. Jinshi Mushi and Dagon clashed, and the two fought all while the Phoenicians prayed for Dagon to be the victor. In the end, Dagon fell, and Jinshi Mushi left. The Phoenicians rushed to their fallen god, praying he lived, only this time their prayers were answered, as Dagon showed signs of life, although he suffered two big puncture wounds where Jinshi Mushi implanted her eggs. The Phoenicians also recorded hearing a great drumming noise coming from Dagon. In the records of the Japanese, it was believed that once Raijin grew tired of drumming, Jinshi Mushi would rise again. The MUTOs were first introduced in the Godzilla 2014 film. It is never seen in its larval stage on screen. The MUTO spores were found attached to the corpse of Dagon. One spore already hatched, while the other one, containing the female, was still dormant. The dormant pod was confiscated by the Americans and taken to Nevada to be stored at the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository. When hatched, Hawk Muto made his way to the power plant in Genjira, Japan. He then cocooned himself and began to feed on the radiation given from the plant's reactors. After the collapse of the power plant, Monarch set up a base in the remains of the power plant. Monarch began studying Hawk Muto while he fed for nearly 15 years inside his cocoon, while Dr. Brody picked up the calls coming from the cocooned Muto. Joe and Ford Brody were caught by the military guards in the quarantine zone. While Joe Brody demanded answers while under custody, Hawk Muto let out an electromagnetic pulse. Monarch tried to stop Muto when he showed signs of activity by shocking him with high-voltage cables that formed a net around his cocoon. When it failed, Muto broke through the Monarch containment, killing several workers in the process. Muto then flew off and under the radar of the US military before being spotted in Honolulu, as it fed on a Russian nuclear submarine that it dragged up to land. It was spotted by a group of soldiers sent to investigate. The group was attacked by the Muto as fighter jets were sent in to combat him. Muto quickly let out an EMP, which caused the jets to shut off in midair and crash. Muto then made his way out of the jungle area and into the city, derailing a train Ford Brody was on. Meanwhile, Godzilla made his way to shore and went to confront Muto. After shrugging off more military assaults, Muto was confronted with Godzilla. The two had a brief battle at Honolulu International Airport that was mostly shown off screen, except for news footage displayed on the television, before Muto retreated with Godzilla hot on his trail. Meanwhile, Dr. Serizawa and his assistant Vivian Graham discussed Dr. Brody's research with Ford Brody and concluded that Muto was using echolocation to telegraph a mating call for a female. Fearing that the female spore found in the Philippines was no longer dormant, the military sent a group of soldiers to investigate the site containing the spore, only to find the spore pod was broken, and the female Muto, Muto, was moving towards Las Vegas. She quickly plowed her way through Las Vegas, making her way to California, while the military devised a plan to lure both Mutos and Godzilla out to sea with a nuclear warhead, then attempt to kill all three by detonating it. The warheads were being transported by train when the train was intercepted by Muto, who attacked and killed all but Ford, who managed to slip away as Muto turned her attention to a warhead she quickly consumed. Ford and the second warhead were recovered by a military response unit. The warhead was taken along with Ford to San Francisco Bay, where it was armed. But soon after, Muto swooped in and stole the warhead to present as a gift for his mate. Godzilla came ashore and made his way past the naval fleet stationed at the Golden Gate Bridge. As Muto built their nest, Muto flew to confront Godzilla. The two clashed. Meanwhile, a military team parachuted in the city to recover the active warhead. The team regrouped and approached the nest. While the team found cover to remain unseen, Godzilla appeared overhead and let out a mighty roar towards Muto. Godzilla then engaged Muto, providing an opening for the team to enter the nest, and Ford and the rest of his team decided that the remaining time was not enough to disarm the bomb, so they began to transport the warhead out to sea. As they did, the two Mutos began to overpower Godzilla. Ford stayed behind and destroyed the Muto nest, which caused Muto to run back to the nest in distress. As Muto mourned the loss of her young, she spotted Ford Brody nearby. Her sadness was quickly replaced with rage. Just when it seemed Ford was done for, Muto's focus shifted to a strange blue glow that was slowly growing. The blue glow revealed to be Godzilla, just before he hit her with his atomic breath, which slammed Muto into a nearby skyscraper, buying time for Ford to escape. Before Godzilla could finish off Muto attacked him from behind. While the two fought again, Muto pursued Ford and his team. After the team loaded the warhead onto a boat, they began to engage with Muto. Meanwhile, Godzilla began to get the upper hand against Muto. Godzilla flung Muto, who quickly recovered midair and began to turn towards Godzilla, ready to collide with him. Godzilla quickly swung his tail, hitting Muto critically and pinning him to a skyscraper, which impaled him in several places. Ford made his way to the boat, while witnessing the last members of his team being swatted and killed by Muto. This bought Ford enough time to start the boat and leave. As he went to rest, all the power to the boat ceased. Muto hovered over Ford. Desperately, Ford took out his sidearm and aimed it at the Muto. Muto let out a low growl, but it was cut off when Godzilla grabbed her by the neck with his mouth, pried open her mouth, and blew a stream of atomic breath down her throat, a move which is now known as Godzilla's Kiss of Death. The prequel novel of Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla Aftershock, goes over the threat of the Mutos and introduces one of, if not the most dangerous form of a Muto, Muto Prime. It starts off when the Muto Prime, Jinshi-Mushi, bursting from the ground in Guam. She finds a submarine and begins to feed on it before being confronted by Godzilla. She quickly slugs him with a hit from her massive front arms and flees into her sinkhole. Godzilla storms back into the ocean and finds Muto Prime again feeding on a submarine underwater. She hits him once more, stunning him before swimming away. Jinshi-Mushi then attacks the Athena 2 nuclear power plant in France. While doing so, she is hit with a ray of atomic breath from Godzilla, who rose from the depths of the sea. Godzilla charges her only to be slashed by her claws and thrown to the ground. She attempts to stick her ovipositors into his flesh, but was quickly tossed off by an enraged Godzilla, who roars before Jinshi-Mushi fled back underground. Dr. Emma Russell tries a test to pacify Jinshi-Mushi, but only served to enrage the Muto as she attacked the speakers and killed most of the people present. Monarch was called to an emergency tribunal session of the UN Security Council. Since killing Godzilla would theoretically stop Jinshi-Mushi's aggression, the council decided that the two titans should be left to fight, using both Dr. Serizawa and Emma Russell's words against them. Even after being explained why Jinshi-Mushi was a threat that needed to be dealt with, and why Godzilla is crucial to the planet, the council arrogantly stood by their decision in letting Jinshi-Mushi kill Godzilla. In the Beartooth Mountains of Montana, Jinshi-Mushi is found fighting with Godzilla, who lands a heavy tail swing and a kick before Jinshi-Mushi retaliates with his front right hook. He responds by ramming into her, when she then jumps over Godzilla and strikes him from behind. Then Jinshi-Mushi lets out a massive sonic roar which shatters Godzilla's dorsal plates. She then attempts to inject her ovipositors into Godzilla, but is distracted by the noise played by Emma's prototype organ. Godzilla takes advantage of her confusion and lifts Jinshi-Mushi onto his back and lets off devastating atomic waves from his shattered dorsal plates, which sends her flying, landing on her back, stunned. Godzilla finishes off the brute by stomping on her head, killing her for good. Godzilla then slowly makes his way back to sea. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, another smaller female Muto is seen briefly throughout the movie on monitors and newsfeed on other displays. She was awoken from Ghidorah's alpha calls and proceeded to rampage at random as part of Ghidorah's orders, until Madison Russell played a custom alpha call through speakers at a stadium in Boston, causing all the Titans following Ghidorah's orders to stop in confusion. At the end, by the time Godzilla defeated Ghidorah, the four Titans arrived to see who was the alpha. The female Muto, along with Scylla, Behemoth, Methuselah, and Rodan, submitted to Godzilla, who then roared triumphantly. While the Mutos may be animals, they are still parasitic animals nonetheless. If left unchecked, the Mutos can quickly become a global threat capable of claiming the planet for themselves, which may seem similar to humans but with far less compassion. As stated by Dr. Emma Russell, she, Jinshi-Mushi, may have spawned a new subspecies evolved to reshape, if not eradicate, existing ecosystems according to their own needs. It's a tactic employed by all invasive species, including humans. Why find an empty nick to inhabit when you can carve out your own? Once that's accomplished, the brood turns on itself, until only the strongest survive. It would follow the same pattern if that sole survivor would then metamorphose into the next Muto Prime. One Muto Prime is enough to cause earthquakes just to lure in radioactive hosts. Since there is a process a subspecies Muto can take to metamorphose into a Muto Prime, It only makes regular Mutos a much bigger threat. It's theorized the process simply requires an adult female Muto to consume an adult male. I'm going to start off by saying, for the love of Godzilla, would you hit that like button if you liked the video? I could use some feedback too if you have any. I'll put the subscribe option up early too, so hit that while you're at it. I don't want to sound needy, but I work hard to give you this content. Plus it's free. So get down and dirty with that like button. Or, if you're a real stud, you can hit that subscribe button and the like button. Ooh. Seriously though, thanks for watching and making it this far. As always, this is your boy Soy, signing off.